We're on lesson 3 of chapter 4, which is solving proportions. First, we're going to solve proportions using cross products. Then we'll do a real-world application. If you remember our last lesson, we showed you that 2/4 is the same thing as 1/2. They are proportional. I'm getting the same amount of pie whether I cut it up to 4 pieces or just 2 pieces. A great way to check proportionality is to use cross products like we're doing here. So I can multiply 4 times 1 and I can multiply 2 times 2. If the answer is the same, it's going to be proportional. So 4 times 1 equals 4. 2 times 2 equals 4. So guess what? These would be proportional. And let's do that for the rest of these here. So use cross products to solve these following proportions. So we actually could solve a proportion by finding out what p needs to be using cross products. So I could do p times 3, and you know it's going to equal 6 times 10 if these are proportional. So over here I would have p times 3, or 3p, and that equals 6 times 10. 6 times 10 is 60, so 3p equals 60. I divide both sides by 3. So p would be 60 divided by 3, which is 20. Same thing over here. I can do cross products again. 8 times 15 equals 5 times x. So if I write that out, it would be 5x equals 8 times 15. 8 times 15 would be 120. So 5x equals 120. Divide both sides by 5. Then x would equal 120 divided by 5, and that would be 24. So 5 over 8 would be proportional to 15 over 24, just as 20 over 6 would be proportional to 10 over 3. Let's do it for a couple more then. 10 times y equals 15 times 16. So if I'm going to do 10y equals 15 times 16. 15 times 16 equals 240. So 10y equals 240. Divide both sides by 10. 240 divided by 10 equals 24, so y equals 24. So if I plug in 24 here, 15 over 10 is proportional to 24 over 16. Let's do one more. 14 times 54 is proportional to n times 42. So I'm going to do 42n equals 14 times 54. 14 times 54 is 756. So 42n equals 756. Divide both sides by 42. So n equals 756 divided by 42. And that equals 18. So the proportion would be 14 over 18 is proportional to 42 over 54. Let's solve a real-world application then. Density is the ratio of a substance's mass to its volume. So mass goes over volume, mass to volume. So the density of ice is 0.92 grams of density per milliliter. So what is the mass of 3 milliliters of ice? So if I'm going to write this proportion, 0.92 over 1 millimeter, grams over 1 milliliter. So we need to solve for mass of 3 milliliters of ice. When you line up proportions like this, you have to line up milliliters with milliliters and grams with grams. So I have 3 milliliters here. So I have 3 milliliters here, and I'm lining that up with the 1. And then on top, I'm going to line up the grams. And I don't know the grams, so I'm going to put G for grams. And this will be my proportion. What would G be to make this true? Then I'll do cross products. So 1 times G equals 3 times 0.92. If I write that algebraically, 1G equals 0.92 times 3. So G equals 0.92 times 3, 2.76 for my answer. So 2.76 grams if it's 3 milliliters. That would be the ratio then. So just to recap, I wrote out the ratio 0.92 over 1, and then I lined up whatever it told me, 3 milliliters, so I lined up milliliters with milliliters, then I found the G for grams to solve for grams, and then I did the cross products to find my answer.